Well, weaving friends, here we are at the warping board. I'm hoping I can get this camera angle decent and that you'll be able to see what I'm doing to measure warp. So this is, I don't know if you can, how well this green thread shows up. It's just my my warping plan, in effect. Tells me reminds me of the way I'm going to go across these pegs. I've got 2 spools of cotton down on the floor on a lazy Kate that's normally used for spinning and stuff, but it works great for this. And we're just going back and forth 6 times, because with this warping board, when I made it, I purposely set it up that to go from peg to peg is 1 yard. So I know I've got a 6-yard warp when I do this. And I'm also hoping that the sound shows up decently. So, like I say, I've got 2 spools of thread down there on the floor. Okay, that is 5 sets of back and forth, up and down, to give me 20 threads. And since my plan for this project is 20 ends per inch, I'm going to put a couple of choke ties on here to get myself an inch worth of threads, which is exactly what I need for my homemade rattle on there. So that's the first 20, and I'm doing this in batches of 2 sets or 2 inches. So and I'll move the camera in a little bit and get you a little bit better view of this. But not until after I measure all 2 inches worth of warp. Or maybe I should say all 40 threads of warp. Wrap there. Okay, so another 20 threads done. Grab one of these little choke ties, and I'm tying off the cross up here. And now that I've got the cross tied over here, I'm going to come to the other side, almost a yard away, and put one more choke tie at this end, at what I think of as the top. And we'll put one choke tie down here. I gotta go get my scissors. Okay, I'm going to move the camera just a little bit. And back you up just a little bit too. So, I know there's a great deal of light up there because that's the front windows of the house and the sun is out and it's bright and it's on snow. So, you'll just have to put up with that. I can't do much about it. Now I'm just going to do a little chaining together here. And I'll back up a little bit, kind of just out of camera view, but hopefully you can see that I'm just making it a chain of warp threads. I like to keep a pretty fair amount of tension on these threads as I make the chain. So one end, I've got this loop here. I'm going to slip a different finger into there. Then with my other hand, I'm going to reach up and put my fingers through the cross, which you can see there. Now I'm going to turn the camera off and move it over so you can see how I put this onto the loom. So I know it'll be difficult to see up close, but I lay the chained part on top of the castle, take an S-hook and go through the loop on the chain. Then I'm going to walk around to the back of the loom and go through and change hands, the direction of my hand through here. So I've got my thumb through the loop at the end of the chain, and then the cross is right here, and I've got two fingers through there. I'm going to take these, I think this is called a helping hands. I bought it from Lofty Fibers 3 or 4 years ago, and it really is helpful to put this through there. So this maintains my cross. I'm going to separate out these two 1-inch batches of thread and lay them through my nice little homemade rattle. Back around to the front of the loom again. Pick up the chain with this S-hook on it. I use the S-hooks to provide just a slight amount of tension and just hang this down in front of the loom. There we go. That's one full batch of warp threads in for 2 inches worth onto the loom. You can see over here I've got mostly done. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches to go out of 28 inches. Although it won't be quite 28 because that doesn't come out exactly right for the pattern. I need, in my last batch, instead of having 20 threads, I'm only going to have 14. So that's fine. Anyways, there's this part of the warping step, and I'll show you more later. So I have finished measuring all of my 550 some odd threads. Don't ask me to remember exactly how many. It's on the loom. You can see it here. This is the rod that goes through the end of the loop where they come down over these helping hands, and I have to basically thread this through there. It's pretty easy if I just go slow and watch what I'm doing. Let's take a look and make sure I've got it done right. So far we're doing okay. I didn't miss anything. Yep. So the next, I'm going to zoom the camera in just a little bit, show you the next step. Whoops. Okay. I tied at the very end of the cross, and up above there's the cross, but I've got this little loop. It's about 2.5 inches long out here, 2 or 3 inches. I've got one extra thread here. I don't like to leave this with just the thread going through, or the metal rod going through there like that. I want this a little bit tighter. So I'm going to I untie this thread, and the end one I used a different color. And I'm going to make a double loop around there and tie this, and just to make it really secure so I don't end up pulling one bit of thread back that way without another. Go put another loop. Okay. So now the end of these threads are really nicely secured around this rod. I've got to do that to all 27 others. I'm not going to waste your time doing this on camera, but I'll come back to you when I've got all of these done. Okay folks, I have finished tying each of these down around the metal rod here, and I have removed the tie that was on the actual cross itself up here. So now the next thing to do is to take this rope that's just piece of twine that I've got, and we're going to go up and lash on, or lash that metal rod around the wooden rod here, because we basically want to even out the tension between the wooden stick, this one here, and this metal rod, because it's the wooden one that is tied with these to the beam, and if we don't do that, we'll get way too much bending in the metal rod when we put tension on this. So I'm just going to quickly do this. Do one more this way. Let's put this one this way. I know this isn't the most exciting part of weaving, but it is a part that you got to do. At least you should, just to keep your tensions all even. I pulled it the wrong direction. That was stupid. Now I've got to loosen it a little bit. I've got to get this distance down just a little bit more. Okay, now we can just tie this off. So it doesn't unravel later, and lashing is done. Okay, I have been down in that area and loosened up the wire brake that holds this back beam from sliding forward and loosening the tension. And now it's just a case of starting to wind this on. I'm just trying to straighten out these things now that I can see them a little better. I probably should have pulled them over a little bit more, but I think we'll make it work anyways. Okay, so let's wind a little bit more. There we go. Now I'm going to start putting these long thin rods in underneath to keep the layers separated as I wind on. And well, you get the idea. Now it's just you're not going to see anything more. It's just going to be me winding, and it's going to look the same. So I'm going to stop the video for right now and do a little bit of winding on of all of this warp off camera. Okay folks, I'm sitting at the loom. You can see right here I have threaded a little over half of the heddles for this project. This is the second page of my threading plan. The ones where it's been marked off and with a colored marker are the ones that I have done already, and the blue lines going vertical tell me that is an inch worth of threading. So for this next batch, I'm going to go through heddles 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'll grab them. 1. Come on, grab 2, 3, 4. Pull them over, and they're 4, 3, 2, 1, not 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I used 2 spools of yarn while I was measuring out the warp, each time I go to the back and take them off the lee sticks, they're in sets of 2. So there's thread 4, thread 3, push them over, push these out of the way a little bit, push these over to the side, grab the next 2 threads, separate them out through the heddle with number 2 and number 1. That's all the farther I can remember. So let's go grab a pen. We'll use pink this time. 4, 3, 2, 1. The next set of threads are going to be 2, 3, 4, and 6. So 2, 3, 4, skip 5, grab 6. Grab my next 2 threads. Two, 3, grab the next 2, 4, and 6. Push those over to the side. Mark off that I did them. Now it's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go off the side now. 2, 3, 4, 5. Next is going to be 7 and 3. There's a 7. There's a 3. 7 and 3. Mark those off. Now 4, 6, 7, 8. 4, 6, 7, and 8. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Right. 4, 6, 7, and 8. Again, mark these off. 4, 6, 7, 8. And then we're going to do just a 4 and a 6. 4 and a 6. Four, 6. Mark them off. Now that is 20 threads that I've done while you guys are watching me. So now I'm going to just comb them out and make sure there's no tangles in this batch. Tie a quick slip knot in the end. Push this to the side. And that is 1 inch of width of the warp. Or it will be when I put it in the reed at least. But that's 20 threads. And I'm doing this at 20 ends per inch. So there is 1 1/28 of my entire warp that you just saw me do, less a couple threads. But basically it's 20 inch. The inch, we're not quite 28 inches wide, we're like 27 3/4 inches wide. So close, call it 1/28 of what we're doing here. That's this step in the warping process on this particular project. Well, folks, I have finally finished threading all the heddles, 520 some of them. I've lost count. And now it's time to start slaying the reed with just the first inch's worth. I may have to loosen the back. I think after I get this one done, I will. I'm slaying this at 2 per dent. So this will be another slow process, but we're slowly getting closer toward actually weaving. There we go, that's the first inch. I suppose you folks think you've caught me laying down on the job, huh? Because I'm underneath the loom. Well, I am laying down, but I'm still on the job. I am retying the upper and lower limbs to the treadles. This is, without a doubt, my least favorite part about any kind of weaving. It is just the most difficult thing I do. Mostly because it's on the ground and I have to be on my back looking upwards at the lambs. And I've got arthritis in my shoulder, and being down here and laying on that shoulder hurts like the dickens. So here I am. Here's my tie-up sheet. And I'm going to be tying up treadle number 9, and so for the first shaft that will be a long tie-up. So we're going to move a long one to the number 9 position. The second one is going to be a short tie-up, so I got to find, see, that's where my arm hurts. There's a short one that I can move over. We'll get this one out of the way. So there's 1 and 2. Number 3, I'm lucky, there's one there already. I can leave it there. So on shaft number 4, I need a long one, and I'm having a hard time. I think I'm going to turn the camera off and work on this part on my own. I'm finally done with that torture chamber underneath the loom. Now I've got to take the reed from this flat position and stand it up and put the top of it back on. So over on the left side over here, I've got a C-clamp holding the reed in place. Take that off. Drop everything. There you go, there's my C-clamp. And let's get this thing standing up straight. Looks about right. Now we'll take the top half of this. I know you can't see these screws that I'm lining up. not sure I can either. This one. It's like a carriage bolt that I got to get correctly placed. And on this side, it's being troublesome. That's because it's there. It's held in place in back of it. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a wing nut right down here on the back. There's this, like a carriage bolt here that goes through there, sits in a groove on this upright, and there's a wing nut in the back. So there, now my reed is up. Let's see where we are. We can pull all these guys forward. I'll grab the breast beam, and of course we've got these two pins here that have to go onto there. I do that almost completely by feel. That's set. Then loosen that, and we can take off this C-clamp. Okay, I got my little tangle untangled. That was this lashing string that I'm using was tangled under the loom. That's taken care of, and now I can actually, I've started lashing. Just taking this lashing cord through each of these bundles of 20 threads, and I just pull the lashing cord through each of them and around this little tie-on piece of wood here. I don't know if that's got a name to it, because, and if it does, I don't know what it is. So we'll just go through and lash these all on. Once all the lashing is done, I can adjust the tension. But the first part is just to get them lashed on. There's enough of this stuff. You guys get the idea what I'm doing with this lashing onto here. You can see that the tension is pretty close to right. I've still got a little bit of real fine adjustments to do, but that's enough for now. I have no way of measuring some of these videos as I'm doing little bits and pieces over the course of a couple days, but I suspect this video has gone long enough and I haven't even started weaving yet. So I think I'm going to end it here and tell you that in a couple of weeks there will be a part 2 where I actually do some weaving on this project, where so far all you've seen is setup. So that's really about it for now. You know the usual drill about like, subscribe, comment, and all those neat things. Yeah, do those things. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of the video. And hopefully I can come back and show you part 2 of this in a week or two. But who knows? Anyways, the good Lord willing and the creek don't rise, it will make it in a couple of weeks. Until then, bye-bye.